Hey everybody, it is time once again to take a look at the hottest and coldest teams right now in the NHL. Before we begin, this video is brought to you by BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. You can get a sign-up bonus of up to 125% on your initial deposit when you sign up today with BetUS. It's a great day to start winning. The link is right down in the description. But let's get into it here, looking at some teams that are playing really, really well, other teams that have been struggling recently, and it is a fun list to check out this week. So you guys know me. I like to start with the good side of things, the hot teams. We'll get into it. Coming in at number 5, still on the list, the Philadelphia Flyers, who are 7-3-0 in their last 10 games, and they won their last game out yesterday. Philadelphia, obviously, very low expectations for what the Flyers were going to be this year, and they're not a playoff team. They're right around the 500 mark. They're not a playoff team, but they have certainly been better than a lot of us expected going into this season. And this recent stretch for them now, the past few weeks, has actually been pretty darn good for the Flyers, as they at least are competitive and putting in an effort night in and night out. At number 4, we have the Winnipeg Jets, 7-3-0. Also in their last 10 games, won their last game. Winnipeg obviously competing up near the top of the Western Conference this year, really duking it out with Dallas for that top spot in the Central Division. And the Jets have had a very, very strong season. Certainly very, very likely going to be a playoff team this year, barring some sort of massive collapse. After a really disappointing season last year, Winnipeg, with the coaching change, has bounced back strong under Rick Bowness, and they've been a very solid team this season, playing very well here recently. Number 3, we've got the Florida Panthers, who all of a sudden, after being really probably one of the league's biggest disappointments of the first half of the year, all of a sudden is really trying to make a push to get back into a playoff spot. And they have won 2 in a row now. They're 7-2-1 overall in their last 10 games. And they have closed that gap from where they were at in the wild card position to where they're at now and the wild card position. They're not in a playoff spot yet, but they are trying to close that gap. They are pushing really hard. And they've been playing very, very good hockey here recently and winning a lot of important games that is helping them get back into the playoff picture. So Florida is going to be a very interesting team to watch here as we head down the stretch of this season as to whether or not they can steal a playoff spot or if they just end up missing out. At number 2, making, I believe, their first appearance on this list of the season, the Edmonton Oilers, who certainly have not had a perfect year so far this season. They've had their ups and downs, but they are really starting to get hot at the right time in Edmonton. They've won 6 in a row, which is the longest active winning streak in the NHL right now. They are 7-2-1 in their last 10 games, and they've moved into a top 3 position in the Pacific Division. After spending most of this year down in a wild card spot, they are into the top 3 in the Pacific now, and the Oilers are starting to play really, really good hockey at the right time, and they are winning a lot of games. But they're not number 1, and that's because number 1 is the Boston Bruins. Just an absolutely ridiculous year for the Bruins this season, and it hasn't slowed down at all. 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. They've won 4 in a row. There's no signs of stopping for the Bruins. No signs of slowing down. It's just been a ridiculously great year for them from start to finish so far. Still barely any losses for Boston. What are they now? 36, 5-4 on the season. Just an absurd record. And the Bruins continue to be the hottest team in the NHL. So those are your 5 hottest teams in the league right now. We have the Bruins, Oilers, Panthers, Jets, and Flyers. Now we've got to switch things over to the other side, the cold teams. These are teams that are really struggling. And coming in at number 5, we've got the Anaheim Ducks. They have been on this list consistently this year. really no surprise here. They're one of the worst teams in the league and very much in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. 3-6-1 in their last 10 games, and they lost their last game out. This has become commonplace, unfortunately, for Ducks fans this season. At number 4, we have the Detroit Red Wings, who are also 3-6-1 in their last 10 games and lost their last game out. But I put Detroit above Anaheim because, to me, the Red Wings are the more disappointing team to be here at this point in the season. This is a Red Wings team that there was a lot of hype around going into the season after the offseason that they had and some of the young talent that they have on that roster. I, for one, was very high on the Red Wings and thought that they had a real shot to make the playoffs this year. And for the most of the season, they've kind of hung around that wild card race and have been, either just outside or just in a wild card spot, like right on that playoff line. But here recently, they have really, really gone through a rough patch. 3-6-1, like I said, in their last 10. And they've been passed by Florida and Buffalo now, who have gone ahead of them in the division. And it's really starting to look like Detroit's not actually going to make the playoffs this year. They would need a insanely good final 30 games or so to do that. And I just don't see it happening. I think this team's been too inconsistent. And obviously right now they're during one of the struggle portions of their season. And they're certainly not going to make the playoffs, winning 3 out of 10 games. Another team in the wild card race in the Eastern Conference that is also struggling right now is the New York Islanders. 2-5-3 in their last 10 games. They lost their last game in regulation, and just 2 wins in 10 games for a team that now for the last couple of weeks has been the first team out of a playoff spot in the East. I mean, they are in a dogfight to try and steal a playoff position this year, and let me tell you, 2-5-3 is not going to get you there. And the Islanders have really struggled recently after what was kind of a pretty solid start to the year for them. They faded a little bit as we've gotten deeper into this season. And obviously right now, just not on a good stretch right now. And their playoff chances are taking a hit every single time they lose. And they're in such a tight battle with so many other teams trying to steal one of the 2 wild card spots in the Eastern Conference. There's a lot of teams in that race. I would say, at least 4 or 5 teams trying to take those, spots away. And there's only 2 wild card spots. And then when you factor in the teams that are already in the wild card spots, you're looking at like 6 teams trying to get 2 spots. And obviously quite a few of them are going to get left on the outside looking in. Right now, with the way the Islanders are playing, it looks like they're probably going to be on the outside looking in. At number 2, we've got the Vancouver Canucks. Just such a disastrous year for Vancouver this year. 2-8-0 in their last 10. They've lost 3 straight. The whole Bruce Boudreau saga is going. Very likely that he gets fired today, if he hasn't already been by the time that this video comes out for you guys. But just feel really bad for him and what he's gone through with that franchise, and the way that they've handled it has not been very good. But the whole season for the Canucks has just been an absolute disaster, and obviously that is continuing here with a 2-8-0 record in their last 10 games. But they are not the worst in the league, and that's because the worst is the Arizona Coyotes. For the second week in a row, the Coyotes hold the coldest team top spot. 1-9-0 in their last 10 games. They've lost 2 straight in regulation. Obviously, they only won 1 of their last 10. Just an abysmal last couple of weeks here for the Coyotes. And they, of course, once again, also will be in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes and kind of, down among those bottom 5 worst teams in the NHL. So those are your coldest teams in the league right now. We have the Coyotes, Canucks, Islanders, Red Wings, and Ducks. So there you have it, everybody. The hottest and coldest teams currently right now in the NHL. Obviously, some of these teams are playing really, really well. Other teams definitely struggling at this point in the season. And with the playoff races really heated up, especially for those wild card spots and how tight it is in both the Eastern and Western Conference, some of these teams that are losing are, really hurting their postseason chances, like Detroit and the Islanders immediately come to mind there. Like, they're really doing some damage to their seasons right now. And then for a team like Florida on the hot side, they're all of a sudden pulling themselves back into the possibility of making the playoffs and really putting some good wins on the board. So we'll see how this changes next week. It's a lot of fun to take a look at this week after week and just see who's playing well and who's not. And obviously, some teams will come onto the list, some teams will fall off, things will get jumbled up. And we'll talk about that next week. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. You can follow Off the Wall Hockey across social media using the Linktree link in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our merchandise store, membership, and donations down in the description as well. Please keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you guys so much again for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you all soon.